Hello, everybody. Welcome to PinTech Live School with Kyle Spiteri. Nice. That was a very dramatic tilt up, too. Kyle Spiteri, ladies and gentlemen. How's everyone doing? How do we sound? Loud, quiet, tired? Can we hear Kyle? Kyle, can you talk? I don't think we can hear you. Turn your mic on. This guy. I don't see you. I don't see your levels. You got the same hat on, Colin Baxter? Dang. Twinsies day. That's awesome. So this is not the last stream of the year, but we will be taking a break next week. Next week is Christmas Eve, and we have off. And unfortunately, we also have PinTech Live School off. So everyone gets a break that day, and I hope you enjoy it with your families.
Hey, did that work? Can you hear me now?
Yes, that works.
Hi.
You should have it on.
We should.
We love doing this show. And that brings me to another announcement, is that we are going to stream on December 31st, New Year's Eve, because that's how much we love streaming with y'all.
Yes.
And hopefully, cross your fingers, that might actually be our special episode with Stern Pinball's new Led Zeppelin pinball machine.
That'd be pretty cool.
Have you guys seen that yet?
Yeah.
What do y'all
and
think?
If you haven't, what rock have you been living under?
Kyle, what have you done with your sound?
What? Did I screw it up again?
You're echoey? Am I echoey? Who do you hear echoes from?
Well, okay, so for a second, I was really close to the laptop while I was getting my mic working, so it might have been picking you up while I was over there.
Dan Berlish, loud and clear. Thank you.
Cool.
Jan, Glow Melly, we'll make it entertaining on our show. How about that? We'll have a really good time.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
We got more Project Pinball raffle tickets. This time they got 2 of the already sold out limited edition Zeppelin games, and we have 2 tickets for that we're going to give away on our show. We're probably not going to do an after hours gameplay like we usually do, just because it is New Year's Eve and we gotta,
Kyle has to get home and doesn't want to be out on the roads while people might be driving poorly. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But hopefully I think, like, it's also weird because I'm going to be moving, so I'll be spending a few days, like, very aggressively moving all of my objects, but maybe sometime...
It'll be another hat day for you, Kyle.
Huh?
It'll be another hat day for you. When
Kyle
has a lot of stuff going on, his hair goes like mad scientist. So.
When I wash my hair, it gets poofy, and since my hair hasn't been cut for almost 12 months, it's a little insane. What was I going to say? I'd like to stream Led Zeppelin as soon as possible, though, so we'll try to get a stream in sometime at the end of, or the first week of January. Watch me and Steve play it poorly or something. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll get in Crystal and Dom and the rest of the team. We have some new people at Marco too, and we need to get them playing some pinball with us. So stay tuned for that. Carrie Hardy. Yeah, well, we've seen it. I haven't seen your video, Carrie, but I'm sure it's very entertaining with lots of value. Every time Kyle talks, there's some feedback.
Really?
Kyle, what have you done?
Are my levels too high? Am I peaking?
Let's see. I'm going to drop you down a little bit.
I'll talk quieter.
How does Kyle sound? And then we'll move into our product spotlight.
How do I sound? I'm reading schematics. We're going to do some stuff. I'm speaking. Do my words make sense?
Yeah, Crystal, we need to do some after hours. Crystal's going to be doing her own live stream show sometime soon in the beginning of next year, too. No pressure, Crystal. But everyone in this chat room is now depending on it. No, Colin Baxter isn't. Led Zeppelin say they don't do any drugs. Drugs are bad. Was that them or Pink Floyd?
Never. Never, ever. None of those people, they were all hella straight edge.
No, yeah. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Okay, other quick announcements so we can jump into our lessons because we have a lot of stuff to cover today. Raise your hand virtually if you signed up for EM school tomorrow. I did. So that's the Fun with Pinball. Their EM Pinball Repair Clinic. You know, we always like to talk about it. We want you to go. If you missed the sign up this time, sign up for next one.
It's cooler than our show. That's how cool it is.
It is. It's very entertaining and a lot of fun. So if you got an EM game or you just want to learn more about reading schematics and electrician type stuff, it's a great workshop.
We'll have to.
I believe it is tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central.
6 Central?
Yes.
I thought, Oh, okay. I always thought that it was like around 3. I thought it was 3 Eastern. Sorry.
I think it's 3 Pacific time. So maybe it's 5 Central. Something like that.
Okay.
Wildman might buy Led Zeppelin as his first new inbox. That's awesome.
I think that might be a solid choice. I was listening to Tim Sexton, who is the programmer for that game, kind of explain the way the rules work, and it sounds like it's going to be a really fun, fast-shooting game that has some neat lock rules. I'm excited to play both. We're going to get the Pro next week. But I definitely very much look forward to trying the premium with that uppy, downy, magnet spinny.
I think I'm going to get a premium for my dad. He really loves Led Zeppelin. And I mean, you just can't go wrong with the premium. Yeah, with the raised spinner that comes out of the play field and then the side blades that have all those party lights going on. It's beautiful. Yeah,
that's neat. I'm thinking what we need to do is we need to ask Stern for a set of those. I forgot what they were calling them. They gave them a name. What was it? Do you remember the name?
I know. You sent it to me in a text, too, being like, that's so cool.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to see if Stern will send us a set of those. So if anyone here, if Jody, if you're here, let's see if we can get some of those. That would be a fun thing to do, a little quick install one.
Said the premium with the upper flipper shot that feeds the right flipper is most important to me.
Yeah, that's a very Steve Ritchie thing, right? Steve Ritchie games always have that upper flipper shot that comes and swings back. I very much look forward to that. But I'm also curious to see how the Pro that doesn't have that, how that works out too. Where it has that target that interacts with other things. I have to play it. I can listen to people tell me how to play pinball, but it goes in this ear and right out this ear. So I have to get my hands on the flippers.
Absolutely. Yep, gotta play it. Gotta play it first. So, as you guys can see right here, where's my hands? Our 24-hour free shipping for orders over $99 code for today is capital PT-Turkey.
Wait, really?
Like, why turkey? It's not Thanksgiving, but you get 3 strikes, you get a turkey. We're doing a bowling game. What do you want? We thought it was perfect.
That's what it was? I thought we just couldn't come up with anything, and then Steve said turkey, and then we're like, okay.
No, I said whatever, Kyle.
You said turkey?
Anyways,
I can't remember. That was Tuesday.
And you'll see tomorrow we're going to put a few select tools on sale on our website on the highlights page, which is on the front page. So take a look at that. If you are looking for some last minute gift ideas for your loved ones and pinball fanatics. Expression lighting system.
That's it. Expression. I was thinking it was like, it's not experience, it's something else. Cool. It looks pretty neat. And I'm sure it's pretty easy to install also, but I want to try it.
For sure. So the loved one I am buying for is me. Yeah, Nolan, you should. It's most important to love yourself.
Self-care, man.
Love other people until you truly love yourself. True story.
It's true. And you know, the nice thing too is you'll always buy yourself the present that you want. You can never be, well, no, I take that back. You can be disappointed by presents you give yourself, but less likely.
That would be weird. But let's jump into the product spotlight. So Kyle, I want you to stand up and come closer to the camera while we switch over.
Let me get the product spotlight.
It's a wire bending starter kit. This thing is so cool.
Make your own ball gates.
It's only $14.95, but it'll also be even 10% off starting tomorrow on our website.
That's what I was going to say too. It's like, this thing is super cheap and there's kind of no reason why you shouldn't have one. I'm going to, man, I am so tall. How do I?
Yeah, can you, stand in front of your desk.
Wait, hold on. I got to raise the tripod too. I hate being this big. Whoop. Look at that.
No, you're the world's tallest streamer.
I didn't ask for that title. Okay, wire bending kit. So when you buy this from us, it is a kit. All these things can be bought separately, but this 12-WS-kit, you will get, let's see, it's 2 of 5 different wire gauges, and you will also get the wire bender itself. This thing's handy as heck. You need to mount this to a bench to get like good, to have the best results, but there are multiple different jigs that you can use to bend wires into different shapes. So this will help you be able to bend those exact 90 degrees if you're doing a ball gate, etc. This is something that you will, again, need to mount to a bench. There are 2 holes in it where you can screw it down to your workbench, but that gives you the ability to get in there with your pliers and make those bends without having to eye things 100% of the time. You will get 1-foot sections of many different gauges of stock. So everything from very thin stock to make like wire gates out of, right? What would go on your whatchamacallit, you know, a ball hits it and it hits a switch, up to like thicker gauges that can be used for like ball returns, etc. Yeah, it's handy to have around, and you won't know you need it until you really do. And when you do have this stuff, you will be very happy. So again, for $15, it really is a must-have on your workbench. Not something you can carry around in your tools. It is a little more difficult to use if you're trying to, hold it down and bend things. But if you've got a small workshop, this is invaluable. So, good holiday gift.
It's beautiful, Kyle.
To be specific, the wire gauges are 0.03, 0.04, 0.05, 0.06, and 0.08, and you get 2 feet of each gauge. So, handy tool.
Yep, I dropped that link to it on the website. And again, PinTech audience, use it with your free shipping for orders over $99. Save that code, load up your cart, and then use it tomorrow before the code expires at 3 p.m. Eastern, because then you'll get an additional 10% off of that, as well as some other tools. So that's like pro tip styly, or just buy it now.
Pro tip? We're good at pro tips here. Okay.
Oh my gosh, Midge, that is the most amazing emoji I've ever seen. Kyle, the red nose, PinTech. No, you can't come see.
Oh God, I hate that. Okay, let's ignore that.
Nice. Another pro tip from Mr. Valansky: please buy extra wire. Your first attempt at bending something will not turn out wrong.
Yeah.
Will turn out wrong.
Yeah, honestly.
And cannot be unbent. This is true for Rage Project. Yeah.
Your first foot is going to be all screwed up. And then your second one is going to come down right to the line. So it is worth it to stock up on that stuff for sure. I don't think that the wire gauges that come with that are thick enough for like these Bally inlane returns. I'll have to double check, but those are really good. That basically covers everything other than some of those super hefty, heavy-duty wire pieces in pinball. So
for sure. Well, moving on, we have a special little tutorial, right?
Yeah, something that gets overlooked sometimes. It's going to be kind of hard to film, but we're going to jump in and try to do it. Fan of the show, CH, has asked us to show him how to adjust a ball shooter housing. A lot of pinball games, specifically Williams, we're going to be working on using my Twilight Zone, but the ball shooter housings can shift left, right, up, down a teeny bit, and making sure that the ball shooter gets the correct bite of the ball is pretty important. So it's a lot of trial and error, but I want to show you the things that you really are looking for when you're trying to do this. So let's go over with a handy dandy number 2 screwdriver.
Field trip to Twilight Zone.
Yup.
Yes, he has a Hakko soldering system, right, Kyle?
Yep.
Hakko?
Yeah, it's a Hakko 801, I think. It's handy. I like it. It's a good bench soldering iron. I also use Hakko soldering irons for my toolkit as well. Okay,
let's
so
follow him over there.
These cameras, are these cameras set up? This one's going to be a little useless. Actually, let's see. Maybe I'll...
Ooh, there's that rod. Oh, man.
Let me move this thing a teeny bit. Let's jump in here. This is going to take just a minute. There's just one really important thing you need to get when you're doing a shooter rod like this.
Composition. No one say anything. He doesn't notice.
Okay.
I will focus this rod.
Do we have a visual on this?
Oh, we got a visual.
A ball shooter. These things are not 100% flat, right? This thing is coming out at a slight angle. That is because, as you can guess and probably know, the playfield in a pinball game is angled inside the cabinet. So what we're looking for is we're trying to get this shooter rod. I'm trying to look over at the computer at the same time. Yeah, you can see this. What we're looking for is to try to get the shooter rod to get as much of a bite on the ball as possible, right? What we're not looking for is to have it adjusted where it's going to be hitting the top like this. You're not going to get a good hit. We're not looking for it to be super, cockeyed and off to one side or not. What we're trying to do is we're trying to either get it like dead center right on the pinball or just a little bit further down. What you need to do to adjust a shooter housing, is not hit your cameras. There are 3 screws that hold the housing to the cabinet, right? These screws, this is a plate that sits on the outside. These screws go through and then they thread into the actual housing that sits on the outside. But what you need to do to adjust this is you will loosen these 3 screws. Do not remove them. This is difficult to do when your flipper opto switches are still in place, but you can kind of get it. Don't do this on your game if you're not 100% sure of what you're doing. You'll crush things. When they are loose like this, you see that movement? We've got just a teeny bit of movement. More of it is up and down. Very little of it is side to side. The only reason you'd ever really need to do this is if someone has been in there and mucked with it before, or you're not getting a good bite of the ball. We're going to come outside, and what you can see is if someone has mucked with it before, you'll get witness marks. Does that come through? Can you see that outer edge of where this housing has lived for 30 years or whatever?
Yeah, a little bit.
So a lot of times, if you're trying to correct someone who was trying to do something else, try to line it up as best you can with those witness marks. But this is an adjustment that you can make. What we're going to need to do, let's do this. Let's put the, I'm going to bring the playfield down, And I can show you how poorly they really can be adjusted. Twilight Zone is a bit of a weird game because it's got a super crazy shooter lane. Let's see. Can you see the shooter lane?
Yes, we can see.
So if I bring this like way to the top, do you see how the rubber, I should have put a white rubber on here. Do you see how proud it's sitting? Do you see kind of it's really touching the tip of the ball up here. What we want to do is you want to make sure you're really going to try to want to hit the center of the ball and also keep it slightly centered. So if I push the shooter rod up, do you see how we're still kind of proud? Does that translate? It's kind of hard to get.
Yeah, a little bit.
What we want to try to do is we want to try to get it, if we can't get it totally centered on the ball, we want to try to at least make sure that it is low and it's not high and it's not chipping at the top of the ball. We really want it to try to hit low. But you do have a little bit of adjustment here. Sorry, I realize this is actually really hard to like translate on camera.
Here, if you could hold the camera still. Yeah.
I'm trying to make it like really obnoxious.
I know. Every time you talk, we all get sick. Okay, so you can tell a little bit about how it is kind of sitting higher up above the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good shot.
Right, so that's with the thing pushed all the way up. We have maybe a half of an inch or so to work with, but what you want to do is you really want to try to get it to get as much of a bite of the middle of the ball as possible. It's really not that difficult, but it can take a couple tries, right? A lot of lifting, lowering, seeing where it's hitting, shooting the ball, making sure it does the right thing over and over again. But some games are a little more difficult than others.
So wait, how do we adjust it again? You went
well at this point, right? Once you get it in a spot that looks good, we've kind of got it pushed down. It's pretty well centered inside the shooter gauge as well, right? What we can do now is, sorry, I'm going to put the camera down really quick. We lift the playfield back up. And when you're testing, again, you can really, it might be a good idea to like just set some of these a little bit and tighten them down just a teeny bit before you put the playfield down so it doesn't lose its spot. But yeah, you're just trying, what you're doing is getting it back into your spot, adjusting it a teeny bit. It doesn't have much movement, but a little bit of movement can make a big difference. And then just tightening those screws back down. I have seen a lot of customers will complain about certain games that, oh, I pull back the shooter rod, but it's, I think I need a stronger shooter spring. This spring doesn't seem to be doing the job. And what it turns out generally, or a lot of the times, is that thing is adjusted so poorly that it's like hitting the ball in a weird way. And it will not make it up the shooter lane. So it's a common thing. If you do feel like you have a problem where it's like, well, I've got the right spring, but it still doesn't want to shoot perfectly, make sure your shooter rod is getting the right bite out of the ball. So, ta-da. Twilight Zone's kind of a weird game to do it in because it doesn't really have a long shooter lane. If I had a game where it really needed to go up and around, like if we still had roller games here, I could probably adjust that thing so poorly that it wouldn't make it halfway up the ramp. This game, it only has to go like 2 feet. So. But yeah,
for sure. Cool.
Simple but important procedure. A lot of people do not realize that they can actually adjust their shooter housing and how much of an effect it actually can make when they're fine-tuning things.
Right, for sure. And I see a lot of like pro players when they walk up to a pinball machine that obviously they can't get inside of, they're like adjusting and rotating the actual rod to find where the rubber hits it most center, and they're like
you got to feel. It's like playing pool, right? You're like waiting.
Yeah, I think Brian Broyles at Portal Pinball taught me that once, and he's like, "No, you gotta find the best."
It's finesse. Let's talk about something like really interesting now, though. Shooter rod adjustment. It is important. Make sure if you feel like you need to overcompensate and put like the world's strongest spring in your pinball game, and that is not the spring that is called for by the manual, make sure it's hitting the ball in the right spot. I see it a lot with Williams games. I don't know why, but you know, I also see that people say like, oh, or you'll find a flipper that's like clearly super screwed up, and someone's like taken the return spring and like stretched it and hooked the middle of the return spring onto a bracket to get like way more return force. You do not need to increase the strength of the spring if the mechanism is working properly. If you have your shooter rod positioned and centered just right, you should not need the world's strongest spring on the rod to get it to do its job. So, yeah.
Cool. Thanks for showing us that. That's awesome.
Hey, no problem. Let's talk about something super cool, like 40-year-old electronics, because I find it very fascinating. We have our strikes and spares here again. Let me see, what cameras are we using? I'm going to unplug the game. Remember, when you are working anywhere near your transformer on these older Bally games, where the transformer and the rectifier board are in the head, it is very, 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 very important to either unplug the game or remove your line voltage from the equation. 12 volts, no problem. 50 volts, it buzzes a little bit. 120 volts, don't recommend touching 120 volts. It's not fun. To eliminate the chance of getting shocked, can we show the board here, Emoto?
Yep.
No one wants to see me. I'm all weird and lanky.
What?
Pinball, though, let's put on the small camera, if you would.
All right.
That way we can get a good view of this board, just so I can re-emphasize safety. Wow, that light really is blowing it out super hard.
Yeah, hold on. Let me
Here, don't look at that. You're gonna lose your. I could turn this light off too.
Where'd it go?
That really didn't help much. Okay, well, for what it's worth, I'll let Emoto change the exposure there real quick.
There we go. Okay.
We always have a problem with like way too little light inside of the heads of these games, so now I overlight them.
No, it looks good.
There, you've got 3 plugs on your transformer board here. This big one, this is basically all of the juice necessary to run the back of the game, or the head going up into the rest of your stuff. J1, which is this plug here. This is everything going to your playfield. But J2, this is where line voltage comes in. 120 volts exists here. So either remove this plug, or if you want to be super, super safe, which we will follow that rule, we will unplug the game from the wall. We do not want 120 volts near our fingers. Cannot stress this enough. That is why this plastic cover exists right here. What we're going to do today, last week, not yesterday, we repaired a few things on the driver board, right? We made sure that our 5-volt system was refreshed, and all of our incoming and outcoming voltages had a nice new header pin on the board. We noticed a couple things when we tried to power the game on. One, it didn't work until we jiggled and wiggled this connector. This is where all of our juice comes from your 5-volt section here into the computer. The computer doesn't just need 5 volts to work. It needs 43 volts and your 12 volts to get the blanking signal set up and do the reset, blah, blah, blah. But one real common problem with these games we talked about last week was this filter capacitor. When this guy dies, oh, I need to raise this. Oh, nice.
I mean, I can go to there.
When this guy dies, we lose the 12 volts that makes the 5-volt circuit work. Let's refresh, and I'll try to keep it simple. We have 12 volts that comes in from the transformer. It is then rectified into DC. That 12 volts then goes a couple different ways, but one of the ways it goes to is into this transformer, and it filters the input for this voltage regulator, which then through magic turns that 12 volts into 5 volts, and then that 12 volt or 5 volts goes here to work the electronics here, onto your lamp driver board to work those electronics. It goes onto the computer to work those electronics. It goes into every single one of your displays to work those as well. So that 12 volts is really important, right? On games that are a little less abused, or a little more abused than this one we're working on, it's really common, just like in the later Williams games, to have burnt general illumination connectors. Your general illumination is all of your light bulbs that light the playfield and backbox, etc. So a lot of times when you're looking at your regulator or rectifier board, can you put the small camera on? Mm-hmm. Also, a lot of times you'll notice that you'll have a lot of discoloration on this connector here. Yeah, right there is fine. In the small one, it's fine. Cool. This thing will start getting burnt up. I can use my schematic here, and I can try to pinpoint switched lamps, general illumination bus. So pin 11 is one that gets really burnt up, and the funny thing is pin 11, when that thing starts to burn up, that thing is really close to, which one's 11? Can I count? That's 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so this guy here, this guy will start to burn up really bad. This wire here, pin 10, I believe. No, pin 10 is also general illumination. Let me read this really quick. Basically, these guys will start to burn up, and that will cause other wires on here to start performing badly. They'll become tarnished. And what happens is one of these wires, this orange wire right here, this is your unregulated 12 volts that gets carried up to here to get turned into 5 volts. Kyle, you're talking about all these voltages. What the heck are we doing? We're making a bypass for this. Is it necessary on this game? No, but it is a good upgrade. What we will be doing is we will essentially be bypassing this connector on the bottom here and sending and this is redundant, right? This is a redundancy. We're going to send 12 volts straight from the test point up to this capacitor. That way, whenever this thing decides to burn up again, or if it ever decides to burn up, you will have a redundant 12 volts, and you will continue to have a working game. This is Can
you show us how you're counting, what you're counting? Are you counting the gaps or?
The positions of the pin, right? Can you put oh yeah, small camera's on. So check this out. We only really need to see 1/2. Does everyone see this 10 right here?
Hold on. Yep.
Right next to my finger. Maybe I need to come in straighter.
Yeah, no, we can see it.
So that means that is position 10. And this is actually a tarnished pin. That looks like crap. Anyways, we have position 10 right here. So that means that the opposite position is number 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those are your positions, right? You can use those positions you just counted there to check your schematic to see where everything is, right? So to keep the schematic clean, because the voltages are coming from all over the place, this square, or rectangle rather, represents that actual connector. And each one of these numbers is the position. So you can see that, let me see if I can find what we were looking at. Pin 8 to regulated 5 volt input. That is the orange wire that we are very concerned about. We can go switch to our wiring diagram here. Find the transformer. This is the same connector here. Pin 8, 7, 0. Remember, that's our wire color, and that is our position right there, right? So 7, 0, we can look at our color code. That's orange with no trace. So it's a straight orange wire, right? So 7, 0. And here's the screwed up thing, is Bally used 2 7 zeros, right? You can see pin 10 is 7, 0, and that's general illumination bus. That's one of the wires that burns up. Pin 8 is also orange, and that is what goes in to run our 5 volts, the 12 volts that gets turned into 5 volts. If we look at the connector again, sorry, I'm being very aggressive with this connector. We can see that there is a very fat orange wire and a much skinnier orange wire. We're dealing with the skinnier
orange?
one. What's up?
That's orange?
It's very discolored 40-year-old orange.
It looks brown. But
It does. Here's another good tip, especially with electromechanical games. A lot of the times you're going to be like, I'm looking for a red and yellow wire, and you can't find that anywhere. Or it doesn't look like that on your switch stack. Look further up in the loom and the wiring harness, and generally the colors will be a lot less faded. It looks a lot more orange up here than it does down here. But anyways, yeah, that's kind of what we're going to do. We're going to make a really quick patch wire. You might be saying, Kyle, why are you doing this? Because you just said that this game doesn't need it. I want to teach, and I also learned this trick from the guy I used to work with. When we would work on games, they would come with a warranty. And as soon as you have to go do a warranty call because you neglected to put a jumper or something like that on a very worn out board, you've lost 100% of the profit you made fixing the game for a customer. So with my personal games, I do like to do a lot of these redundancy things too, because why the heck not? It doesn't take much effort.
Ethan says, why didn't they use the resistor color code?
Because they could do whatever the heck they wanted. I don't know. Bally did whatever they felt like. Bally had some great engineers, that's for dang sure. And I really like their schematics. They're very easy to read. But
that's strange. Independence then just said the feed has gone dead here, but I think we're still live. Everything looks good on our end. Are we dead?
Are we dead?
Or are we alive?
Or is everyone dead of boredom?
Midge says it's good. No, my eyes are crossing a little bit. I'm not bored. That's for sure. Daniel said on pinball board pins are easy to read orientation because they are stamped first and the last number.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Like we had the 1 and the 10.
Brouhaha. I love it.
So
look, now I get to see
in my parts repair box, my parts box, I always carry one of the harnesses that I make to jumper the wires. We're going to make our own for this job.
Nice.
But throw the small camera on again.
Yep. Wait, can you explain again why we're doing this?
We're doing this because it's a good tip. If you have a game that you're going to put on location, if you have a game that maybe doesn't have the nicest rectifier board, you've already gone in and you've cleaned up the pins. These things are a pain in the butt to work on. What we're doing is we're just creating a redundancy, because the number one, if I had a game at a customer's house, if I went and did repairs, generally they don't call you if a light bulb goes out, or they don't call you if a pop bumper is dead. They don't call you if a slingshot isn't working. The two reasons customers call you is because my flippers don't work, my game doesn't turn on. This is a 15-minute job that will really, really reduce the chances of your game not turning on. You could also say, well, Kyle, why don't you just replace the rectifier board and replace all the connectors? Why? It's like I can do the work that I need to do, get it done pretty quick, and then ensure we have proper 12 volts to that point at all times. Just like last week when we put that little jumper wire for the 5 volts down to the last pin. Do you remember that? Where we put that wire on the back? That's another, I was just thinking of other redundant things we can do. It's very common to find this style of game with very burnt pins, but like I told you all last week, this game went into someone's home very early in its life, even though it's in crap condition, and that's why it's not burnt up. If this thing sat in a gross bar for 8 years, that connector would be very, very burnt. Maybe it would have been replaced by now, maybe not, but that's what we're going to do.
Because it stays on for so long?
Yeah, exactly. The incandescent bulbs draw so much juice that they will start to, like I said, tarnish those connectors. They draw a lot of power. The connector gets very hot. the coating on the pins, on the male and the female pins, will start to degrade. And as they degrade, the resistance goes up even higher, which kind of causes like a snowball effect to the thing burning, right? And that's when the connectors turn black and get all brittle and nasty. So, yeah, so what we're doing here is we're going to create a harness that has a breaking point. So we can still service the circuit board without having to unsolder wires, right? What we're going to do, throw on the Sony cam, will you, on the big screen?
Sure.
And we'll have plenty of time for questions while I'm putting this together. But what we're going to do is we are going to tie 12 volts, which is what comes in on the positive side of this capacitor, right? We're going to tie 12 volts here and ground here. We are going to run the orange side that's hooked up to our 12 volts down here to the 12 volt test point, so we can poach power straight from there instead of relying on it to come through this teeny wire right here. And then we will be soldering our black wire to a ground. We will probably be using one of the ground positions on a bridge rectifier. This is an advanced job because you need to kind of know what you're doing so you don't make any mistakes. But hopefully we'll have some good footage, and if it sounds like something you're comfortable doing, this is a good way to really ensure your game won't die as quickly. Let me poke around in here with the meter really quick before we sit down at the bench to show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to plug the game back in because I'm sure a lot of people have questions.
Does anyone have any questions? And what do you think of this single cam view?
Oh,
some of y'all were requesting it so you could see more of what Kyle's working on. Because with all this board work we've been doing lately, it's really like we need all the real estate we can get on this layout, right?
Yeah,
so tiny.
We really do.
Oh, we heard the bells.
Okay. Can we throw the other camera on really quick, the handheld?
Yep.
I'm just going to show the schematic here so y'all can get used to reading schematics if you don't know how. Or at least what to look for, right? I'm not a master at reading schematics. I am not good at this. I'm not that good at it. But I can find what I'm looking for when I need to. Oh, geez. Right. There it goes.
Hold on. Give me a second. Check, check, check. I think also I was sitting far back. My audio was bad. Oh, look, I'm on a schematic. So look at these things.
There you are. Okay. Test points indicated as TP, test point, and they're numbered, test point 5. If I measured voltage at test point 5, I should have 43 volts. If I measured test point 2, I should have 230 volts. If I measured test point 4, I should have 7.3 volts AC. VDC, volts DC, VAC, volts AC. Right? So here's the voltage we're concerned about. Test point 3 is it says 11.3 volts DC. One thing about this, right, is this is an unregulated voltage. This voltage comes straight from the transformer. As you can see here, this represents the transformer. It comes out as 12 volts AC. Part of it gets fused. It goes through this bridge rectifier, and through magic, it gets turned into DC. But this is unregulated, right? So let's check this out. We're gonna measure that voltage on the test point. I'm gonna set this meter here to DC voltage on the 20 volt scale. If you are trying to read more than 20 volts, it will not be accurate. You might say, well, why don't you put it on 500? Because then you can read everything. Sometimes reading lower voltages can be less accurate. So we're going to keep it on the highest voltage without going way over. I'm going to slip my black lead underneath the ground braid, which is in your head. That's a good ground. And then we will very carefully, again, exercise caution. There is line voltage on this board. If you touch it the wrong way, you'll get zapped pretty bad. Test point 3, I'm going to hit the loop with my probe here. As you can see, we have 14 point, maybe you can't read that. We got 14.6, 14.5, whatever volts, right? It's unregulated, which is fine. Let's measure the voltage at this capacitor up here, right? Got it on there, 14.5. So we've lost about 1/10 of a volt going through all of the connectors, etc. Sorry, I saw the meter falling. I had to drop it.
Is the 10th bad?
No, that's fine. That's not bad. Especially on pinball electronics, you're really looking for close enough. Not much of this stuff really needs to be perfect, perfect, perfect. There are some voltages that do break that generalization I just put out, but in this case, we're okay. So again, what we're doing is we're taking the voltage from here and putting it here, bypassing this connector. Let me also show something else here. This is process to me. I've done this a bunch, which is why I know where to put a lot of these things. I am not an electrician. I am not an electrical engineer. I'm not going to try to explain a bridge rectifier. But one point of a bridge rectifier is always tied to ground, right? So the place we know where we're going to ground the other wire has to be part of the machine's ground, right? So I have my my meter in diode mode. Diode mode is useful because if we have continuity, it will beep. I don't know if that's coming through. I was just putting my lead on the ground strap here. So since there's continuity between these points, it's going to beep. But I do know that in the bottom right-hand corner, that is ground on these bridge rectifiers. So I'm going to be able to tie the ground here, right? Let's do this too. Again, ground, ground. We've got continuity, right? So this negative lead is grounded. We are going to be able to run that ground also through this point on the bridge rectifier. That is how I set this little modification up. And that is what we will proceed to do.
Nice. And Kevin Moore said ground is also called return for DC voltages.
Yep. And we can show that on a schematic as well. Let's keep the small camera up really quick. Or, never mind. You've already got it changed. Here. You'll see the term return a lot. And thank you for adding that. Oh, you've got it back on? Check it out. So in the schematic here, we'll see, because again, each circuit needs, to go from juice to ground or return. And you'll see that a lot on this big connector here. So we've got switched lamp return, switched lamp return, switched lamp return, switch illumination bus, switched illumination bus. So on older games, switched illumination would be your feature lamps, right? But you see a lot of returns, returns, returns. Those are all grounds. So FYI.
Got you, the RET. Okay.
RET.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, Kevin. That helps a lot. Oh, God.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all chiming in. So, yeah, this is a little heady. This is a little bit more advanced, but let's get this modification done really quick, and then we'll go jump into something else that really needs to be done in every single Bally game that still uses plasma displays as well. Let's jump over to the bench.
All right. While we're jumping over to the bench, Daniel had a question.
Yeah.
Said, old Gottlieb pinballs have wiring harnesses that are all white. Is it hard finding and tracing a wire?
Yes, it really can be. It can be a giant pain in the butt, especially when those colored, the colored stripes and the wires have come off too. So,
oh, no. Any
let's
advice?
do this. Do you want me to swing the Sony cam over here, or I guess we can just do most of this really with the small cam and that. So. Yeah,
I think the handheld will work good.
So what we're going to do is we're going to mimic this harness that I've made. I totally forgot that I wanted to do this today, so I didn't come prepared with orange wire. But when Stern used to send us shaker motors for SAM games, they would include this intermediary harness thing. And I've never needed to use, I very rarely need to use them. So I use these things for spare wire all the time. And we're just going to use the red wire from here. I think the red wire should be long enough to make each side and make it reach. Yeah, I think we'll be good. So I'm going to cut this little harness apart. If you had a better memory than I do, when you're doing this kind of stuff, try to use the same color wire, right? It's like you might say it's like, oh, I'm going to own this game forever. I don't need to, I'll know what's going on. But, maybe the guy coming in next time might not know. So don't be like me. Use orange wire when you're doing this.
Right. Use the same wire as what it says in the manual.
Yeah, it just makes more sense down the line. We've been doing a lot of work getting all of the late era Williams wire colors in stock. A lot of the ones that we've gotten in stock recently are good matches. Some of them aren't 100% perfect in the way that they're striped, but it's very nice to be able to, if you need to repair or extend your harness, now you don't need to sacrifice a game or part something out, which is criminal, but sometimes necessary.
We have Santa Claus Midge in the chat today. He just gifted a few subs.
Whoa. Thanks, Santa Steve.
And is making crazy emotes. All sorts of fun stuff.
How am I not a sub in my own Twitch channel? Maybe I should pay myself and become a sub. So we're going to use, you've got two different size common connectors when it comes to these Molex crimping stuff, guys. You've got, let me see if I can find, so you've got these wrong side. I think we might have gone over this once, but you've got 0.062. This is kind of small for smaller gauge, smaller current situations. I don't know what they're actually rated for. And then you've got the big guys. These are 0.093. They're both very common Molex crimp sizes. We are going to build this out of the smaller connector because I feel like it. So what we're going to do, let's see. These are keyed, like they have a little house. I don't remember what we were doing before. We were building something, but you've got, on these 2-pin ones, you've got like a point on one end, so they only fit in one way. You cannot plug them in the incorrect way. What you need to do is when you're building this harness, though, is just make sure you have the correct wire running from each side, right? So for this case, let's make sure that the red goes at the top of the house. I'm going to yank another red wire out of here too. Do we have any questions?
Permasa says go big.
He says what?
Go big.
Go big? Okay, let's go big because Per says so.
Small connector. So it really doesn't matter what size you use for this?
It does. Some of the smaller ones are generally for like a smaller gauged wire or low current situations, right? This is low. It's 12 volts, not many amps. But this wire is pretty thick. We could probably get it in one of these small connectors, but it will be cleaner and nicer if we do it in a big one. So let's go big. So this is just standard crimping like we've done many, many times before on this show. But this is something you need to get good at. Hey, you know what, y'all? If you need a Christmas present, buy some pins and some connector housings and just practice. That's definitely a good use of your Christmas cash. We are going to use 2 male pins and 2 female pins. I don't need to explain why they are called that, but that's how it works. I guess there's like a standard, like an electronics engineer would...
Parents are supposed to explain that.
An electronics engineer would be really mad at me right now, but there is a standard, right? So this is, I would call this the female housing. It accepts the other housing. But in electronics, the female housing gets the male pins. The male housing gets the female pins. So in I've always just said it backwards. The guy that taught all me this, like, this is a female housing, this is a male housing, but they require in the electronics world, this would be a female housing because it uses the female pins. So any electrician or electronics engineers out there that are like screaming at the screen right now, sorry, but that's just how it's ingrained in my brain. So
yes, harmony, says Jack Rabbit. Kevin Moore said you could also call them plugs and jacks.
Hey, that's cool. Yeah, plugs and jacks. I like that. We'll try to take the gender out of things that aren't necessary to gender, but it does kind of make sense. I'm going to stop there. We're going to get flagged for phallic content or something.
Colin said you still need the locking crimper.
Yeah, one day.
Maybe you can get it to him for Christmas.
I get what all the rage is all about, but I've never ever been in a position where I've been like, man, I sure wish I had a different crimper. But maybe
Kevin
that'll
Moore,
change once I get the new one.
What type of crimper do you use? Do you use a locking crimper? How many people in the chat use a locking crimper versus OG crimper?
The archaic crimper? I've been using this crimper for a very long time. It's never, ever done me dirty. Okay. One of my favorite things ever is making harnesses. It's very cathartic. When I worked in the motorcycle world, no one else wanted to understand electricity, so I was the only one that understood how this stuff works, and I love making harnesses to repair things. It's just, it feels so good.
It seems like it. Daniel says, I use ratchet crimp tool.
Now, if Daniel uses it, I better use it.
Hermanson uses original Molex crimper. Kevin Moore has about 20 different ratchet crimpers, depending on what he's
Well, which one's the best then? This is a discussion that'll never cease to exist on this show.
Colin said he'll get you a locking crimper if you can get him the parts he needs.
I saw your email this morning. I've just been too busy setting up for this to respond. I'm still working on that flap. I think we have found a good supplier.
Oh, Ratchet is locking. Okay, that was a noob side on me. Ratchet is locking.
Yeah.
So he has about 20 different locking crimpers.
We have found
Daniel
a good, this is for Colin and I guess for anyone else who cares, but we found a good supplier for, I think we have found a good supplier to make us some, what are they called? Ramp flaps. So we should be getting some in soon. And then I will try to get you, I will try to make sure that that one happens relatively quick. But I also just need to email the guy that makes the ramps for us and just be like, hey, send me one. So my bad. Been very busy.
He's excited.
Urgh.
Oh, nice. Duis added his crimpers into the chat.
Cool. Okay.
Ramp flaps and a cheap rivet tool, question mark.
A cheap rivet tool. A rivet tool is handy. Yeah, ramp flaps, that is something that has been very hard. They're very hard to get made. We have somebody that does laser cutting local, but you can't laser cut those things because they flap. All of the gases required to cut with the laser make those things really jiggle. So you can't get good cuts. And if you try to stack them and cut like 3 at a time, they weld themselves together. We have a water jet guy in town that wasn't able to make it work either. So we're working on trying to find it. The way I think Williams used to do those things was die cutting. So they would have a set die and then have a sheet of that spring steel, and then this big tool would come down and just go boom, 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 and cut them out of raw material. So anywho, we have our plug. We are going to put this is the plug, so it gets the, I can't do it. It's the male side, it gets the female pin. We're going to take the female pin and put it in here. I can't wrap it around my head yet. I'll work on it.
Jackson plugs.
Jackson plugs. Now we've got the jack, and I am going to stick the, I got to stop or I'm going to forget what I'm saying.
Yeah, don't just do it. Just be
We now have a harness that we can plug together. Ta-da! And we will be able to complete this mod relatively quickly. I am going to strip the ends of both sides so we can get these soldered in. And I think what we'll work on next is we will work on the displays. One thing we noticed last time was that our displays were really flickery. And it's very common for the gas plasma displays to flicker like that because of massive amounts of cracked solder. So we'll bust out the soldering, do a little bit more board work. We also will need to address that pin or that connector on the computer, which was dirty. Remember last week it didn't turn on and I wiggled it and then it turned on. That was what was causing that. I'm going to preheat my soldering iron and we're going to carry this camera back over to the pinball game. Let's work on the high side first. Oh, this isn't even oh wait, I can extend the legs.
Yeah, see? I got you a fancy one.
Did anyone work on anything fun this weekend? Anybody do any pinball repairs?
Yeah, drop in the chat what games you're working on.
I sure as heck didn't. I sat and looked at the Grand Prix that I wish I had been fixing, and now I just need to move it, and it's still broken.
It's funny. Kevin Moore said that there's no such thing as a cheap rivet tool, and then Daniel said, cheap rivet tool, big hammer.
Yeah, he's not wrong. Remember when we're doing this, when you're touching that board again, we're going to unplug the game. Yeah, if you're going to invest into a rivet tool, I would definitely recommend getting something, spend money and get something that's going to work well, especially if you plan on doing ramps. A lot of rivet tools don't have the depth to reach a ramp, so sometimes they only have like 2 inches of throw or 3 inches of throw. On some ramps, you will need like 4 or 5 inches to get the head in to do a rivet. We'll have to do that one day. Okay.
We need to do an episode where we go over Kevin Moore's toolbox. Everything is like so perfectly placed and organized and labeled. Holy
awesome.
Smokes, it's awesome. Send me more pictures. Next time we do an episode, it's like a crimping tools drawer and you pull it out and it's just like very scientific, very methodical. I'll show you guys next time. Send me more pics of your toolbox.
I'm too tall, so I cannot see what I'm doing without hunching over.
Okay, well, you just asked everyone what they were working on, so I'm going to go through the list so you can hear it.
Do it.
I need to see your face. Let's see, Kyle.
I'm going to quickly tin some wires up.
Oh, no. Okay, so Bat Out of Hell did his first attempt on a service call. Didn't go so well.
Oh no, you were working on a
Hole and Haunted House.
Yeah,
both were dead when he arrived. When he left, they almost entirely worked. Well, that's a good start.
Hey, that's an insane first service call. So
yeah,
don't
those are
feel bad.
Let's see. So I'm doing a little multitasking here, trying to get some more of Kyle in the shot. There's that guy.
Don't breathe solder smoke.
Let's see. Jackrabbit's working on a Data East Jurassic Park. Very cool. Glomelli's complete shop of RFM and Cactus Jacks with a few added mods. RFM.
Oh, yeah. I need that Cactus Jacks. You should send it to me.
I'm drawing a blank. Kyle, what's RFM? I love.
Revenge from Mars.
Revenge from Mars. I knew it had to do with aliens. It just wouldn't come out of my mouth hole.
I hate abbreviations. Drives me insane.
I love them. Keep them up. It makes my brain work. Jackrabbit rebuilt the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. Wow.
Awesome. That's a fun mechanism to screw with. Almost as fun as Rudy's head.
Yeah, DeWisp is working, and hoping to do some stuff over Christmas break.
Nice.
Kevin Moore, Paragon, bad 74 154 on driver board.
Yep.
Demo
that'll do it.
Man Complete Top Teardown and Rebuilt, and Twilight Zone MPU repairs. Good.
Excellent.
Goodness. Permance is working on Lord of the Rings, installing a shaker motor for a friend.
That's such a good game.
Captain Retro is working on a hard body restore.
Heck yeah.
Dang. Where'd you get that hard body?
Best
Not
game
my hard
ever.
body. Yeah, seriously. Jacob, welcome, is finishing up a GTB big hit and working on a GTB Miss Annabelle. On the Annabelle, I had to take a heat gun to the ball unit in order to free the gear shaft.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, those. I mean,
Wait,
that's an old game though, right? Is that
What's
a wood
GTB?
rail? Gottlieb.
Oh, just Gottlieb. Oh, okay. See, that doesn't make sense to me. That didn't click. Sorry. I was like thinking of a title. A Gottlieb big hit and a Miss Annabelle. Nice. Some older games.
Big Hit's a great game.
And
again, really quick.
Installing NVRAM on Diamond Lady. Hey, you opened up this box.
Oh no, that's good. But I'm gonna run through this really quick. We're just gonna throw red wire. Again, the red wire up here is connected to positive. Black wire is connected to the ground. Red wire is going to the test point that had the unregulated 12, and then we are going to solder the ground to the bottom right connector on one of these bridge rectifiers. So I'm going to choose the same one that rectifies the TP3. So let me see. Can I get this in?
Sorry, I'm just staring at it. I'm waiting to see the soldering magic.
Oh, you can keep talking about people's work. I'm very excited to hear. Y'all need to inspire me to actually work on more games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe my goal should be in between packing, getting my Grand Prix to work before I move it, or at least work
For
better.
sure. All right, he's going in for the pyramid.
Add a little bit of fresh solder so it actually melts.
Nice.
Very, 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 very gently. Get the thing situated the way you want it to sit. Make sure that the wire comes out the direction you need it to. Sorry for lacking invisible arms.
And let's see if there's another angle.
Come on.
Let's go in.
If this thing was crappier, I would take this thing out and replace a lot of these rectifiers, but this is a game that's probably going to sit in here for a long time, so I'm not worried about brightening it up or anything.
Pin Daddy's working on Starship Troopers as we speak. Indie Pins was doing the NVRAM on Diamond Lady.
That's awesome.
And gotten into trouble on overheating the fine board traces, but overcame it with fine jumper wire. Last week's session gave me new insight to solder gauge size, and it was useful.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
I'm using very thin gauge solder here as well. Using a thicker gauge solder on a board that sits vertically with a lot of chances for solder to drip and short things out. Definitely using a thinner gauge here is very, very handy.
Yeah, so you would recommend for someone like me to maybe take the board out and work on it on the bench? Can I do that? Or everything's connected in there?
No, absolutely.
So I don't get solder over everywhere.
99% of the time, you absolutely should be working on the board on a bench. I didn't work on this board on a bench because I know with my skill level, I could get these to attach just fine. This is kind of a pain in the rear to remove from the game. We need to remove the transformer shroud, and then we need to remove 3 screws over there and 3 screws over here and take it to the bench. And if I'm going to do all that work, I'm going to do more work on this than just this.
Sure.
So, like, yes, do as I say, not as I do. Getting everything on your bench whenever possible is a much better choice than struggling and trying to do it in the game. That goes for like mechs and devices as well as circuit boards. So,
can you tilt up a little bit on that
Yeah.
angle?
Sorry, I was just trying to dress the harness a little bit. I very much dislike it when things are just flopping and flailing around like this kind of is. I made these much too long. What I'll try to do maybe is I'll tie this in with a zip tie here so these don't, balloon out super hard, but it's safe. It's all insulated, but it just bothers me. I like things to look a little tighter and cleaner than this, but that's just me being a semi-perfectionist. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna read some more real quick.
Yeah, I'm just going to turn the game back on and prove to you that this isn't going to create magic smoke, and we'll be good.
All right, everyone pay attention to the lack of magic smoke. David Bocher is working on his prospector, but still hoping that you can find him a mentor out there in Temecula.
Yes. Hey, David, if you're
aren't
still
you
in the
working on
chat,
that?
I didn't hear back from anybody. I'm sure they would have CC'd you too. If you know anyone else that might be willing to do a service call or mentor on that prospector, that would be lovely. Maybe
once the Museum of Pinball starts getting up and running again, when they get ready for their shows, they bring on a lot of techs from novice levels. Like they even let me come in. That's where I learned how to do a flipper rebuild for my very first time ever. You can volunteer at the Museum of Pinball. It's in Banning, California, so that's maybe like an hour and a half from Temecula. But you get to work with amazing people like David Valansky and other super amazing technicians, and you can learn a lot, even just by watching them do stuff. So look out for that too, if Kyle doesn't get back to you on someone that can come to you.
I guess I forget, they all just look insane on camera, but I think this one comes through pretty effectively. I forget that plasma displays just don't show up good on camera, but this one is especially bad. Let's look at one that looks okay. You can
and you said that's because of broken solder?
No, this is because frame rates on cameras. This one objectively looks crappier, even though you can't tell what's going on. Do you see how the segments aren't equally bright and how they don't look as absolutely solid and lovely as this one? Does that change? I don't think we'll be able to get it to come through.
Yeah, because on the wide shot, actually you can see it better on the wide shot. Yeah, you don't see the I wonder what.
Can you? Do you want me here? Let me bring that closer. Maybe it's a distance thing right now.
Yeah, like the bottom player 4 is flickering, but the other ones are not.
It's like super badly flickering, and this is a really, 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 really common thing on Bally pinball games that use these displays. So as long as you can kind of see what's going on there. This isn't something you do just to one. These things all need the same job. So if you have any Bally game that still uses a plasma display, you're going to want to do this, whether it is flickering or not. So we're going to do a little bit more board work, actually. And I'll show you, it's pretty simple to get this job done. We are going to turn the game off. I'm going to take the one that is doing it worst, and we're going to work on that one first.
Awesome.
We've got a 20-pin connector or whatever here. Do you want to put the small camera on?
Yeah. Sorry, we still have everyone talking about what they're working on, and it's so exciting. I'll have to scroll up later when we do our Q&A. We'll get back to class.
Yeah, let's just do one more thing, because this is another good thing to have for someone that might be working on a Bally game. This is super common. Even though I am the pin score guy at the shop, I very much love these old gas plasma displays, and I try to save every single one that I possibly can. Back in the day, much before my time, well, maybe not much, but plasma tubes, right, used to be pretty inexpensive. Now they are extraordinarily obsolete, and it is not worth saving these things unless they have good glass. So on a display, you have your glass. The glass connects here and is lit through a series of transistors, basically. What you do is you have six transistors here to drive digits, right? Since this is a 6-digit display. The old games only had 6 digits up until, oh man, I used to know this. I know Sea Witch was the first game to use 7 digits. I think Skateball maybe was the first Bally 7-digit game. No, that's wrong.
Would be a good trivia question if we knew the right answer for it.
It's not Xenon, is it? Can someone tell me what the first 7-digit game is? I'm pretty sure it's Xenon.
And even says that's from score inflation.
Well, a lot of these old games really do need 7 digits. It's super easy to roll like my Viking. I'm not particularly the best pinball player in the world, but I could still get my Viking to go over 1 million points. So 999,999 is much too low. Meteor is kind of the same way. But anywho, you have 6 drivers here, 1 that will turn each digit on. And then you have, these are segment drivers. So these guys will turn on each bit of the segment. So you've got, I forget how they number them. I think it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So what, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then some of them are for commas, and I don't remember, but it's kind of, a lot of people don't repair these anymore. If it's got good glass, I will try to repair them if it's for my game. If it's for a customer game, it's getting 5-volt or LED display right away. This is missing a piece of hardware. It's also very broken. We'll just be gentle. Anywho, it is very common. I guess if you wanted like a teeny bit of insight, there's a lot of info on the internet on how to fix these, but generally you'll have transistors that go bad and you'll have resistors that roach. Remember, these things are high voltage, so the 200 whatever volts that runs through these things will make them die. That's why we went and reduced the voltage on the game when we got it running.
Nice. It all makes sense.
I like this Brady distributing tag. I really like to collect these things. I have a bunch of them from all sorts of distributors and companies that sold and repaired games. So I'm going to cut this off just because it's in the way. If I can find my flush cutters. Don't lose it.
Add it to your collection.
Yeah, well, almost every board in here has one on it, but I'm still going to yank this one off just because this will be the collectible. Anywho, what we have here is someone has repaired some of these, but did it really badly. We've got a big header back here. And like I said, with most of these headers, the end pins, people will grab one side of the connector and go, ah! And when you yank it off from one side, it puts unnecessary stress on these pins and a lot of unnecessary stress on the other side. And what happens very commonly is they crack. And this one is so horribly cracked that you might be able to see it on camera. Can you focus on? It's going to be on this pin here.
I am so focused. You know, if you hold it like sideways, like parallel, so we can see. I think you're coming a little.
Do you see this? Can anyone see the cracked ring?
Yeah, more like that. Yeah.
So what we have there is it's very common for those outside pins get cracked and they start to flicker and do all sorts of wacky, nasty stuff. So basically, this is the first thing you do to these displays before you do anything else. Every other repair, troubleshooting is not worth doing until you do this.
Like a chipped tooth.
These, and the thing too is I think this is the ground trace right here. And the ground trace connects to pin 2, which is a real common cracked one. So if you've got bad connection to ground, it's going to do all sorts of goofy crap. What we're going to do is I'm going to use a heavier gauge solder, and we're just going to kind of shotgun this thing because it does take a hot second. Since these things are all good and I intend to keep this thing running all of these gas plasma displays currently, we're just going to redo all of these pins. Since I've seen poor work done to this side, we might as well just do them all. It doesn't take that much time. Usually I'll only do like the first 5, but why the heck not? What time is it?
Yeah, we're here. 4:30.
Oh, yeah, we got a little bit of time to go still.
Yeah,
while I do this very boring soldering, let me preface it so we can go to a bit of a Q&A. But what I have is the tools for this is I will not be using the solder pump. I will be using, the solder sucker. I'm just going to use my desoldering pump. This is a single-sided circuit board, so it's going to be very quick and easy to come in here. Most of these traces are rather large. You're not going to suck up a trace and massacre the thing, so it's pretty safe to use this guy. And also, don't breathe this in.
Can you tilt down just a smidge more? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
So now this is everyone's favorite thing, watching Kyle solder.
Solder put. Lex asked, don't you clean the board first before solder?
Don't I clean?
Clean the board?
I mean, I could dust it,
the board's really dirty. Yeah, I guess on the other side too, like the board's like super
yeah, it's
dirty.
pretty grody on top. Yeah, if I had a compressor in here, I totally would, but I'm not going to mess with it now.
So not necessary, but just an aesthetic detail.
No, yeah, and again, if this was a customer's game, or if this was like a game that I cherished and it was like a perfect thing, like my Xenon or my Viking, yeah, absolutely, I'd be going in there and cleaning it. But this is a $350 piece of junk, strikes and spares, and it can live with some dirt. Sometimes I think dirt really does help keep pinball games hold themselves together. So.
Oh yeah, you were saying that. Jamie brought Midge, Jinx. Yeah, we don't have that exact desoldering pump that Kyle is using there, but we do have a alternative on our site.
They all basically work the same. Honestly, the smaller ones, like the ones we sell on our store, are probably a better choice for doing a lot of this stuff anyways. This solder sucker being so large, it does suck with some intensity. So you can pull up damaged and crummy traces. With a smaller solder sucker, it's a lot safer. You might need to suck the solder up twice using a smaller one, but I'd rather spend a little bit more time and have it come out safely than get it all done quickly in one pass.
For sure. Oh, Jacob says he recommends the engineer solder sucker with the silicone tip for field repairs. Guess it could be even more careful. Better safe than sorry.
Not familiar with that one. I'll have to take a look and see what you're talking about. Or if you'll link it, maybe Emoto can pull it up and I can look at it on my computer. These things, again, I can't say how much I loved Fry's Electronics, my local hardware or electronics store, but this is, I think I got this at Fry's, and again, it's just a tool that I've had for a very, 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 very long time. It's never broken, and I don't need to replace it, sort of thing.
Yeah, I was saying the soft tip can get in closer to the solder. That makes sense.
Yeah, this tip is a plastic of some sorts, and it's not, it's seen better days. It's kind of melty and nasty, but a silicone tip would definitely not melt or cause obstructions. I'm doing about half of the traces just so the header doesn't start falling out or anything goofy. I don't know. It's not necessary on this board because it won't, but it's just a habit that I've gotten into instead of unsoldering something 100%.
I'll save that link, Jacob, so Kyle can look at it later too.
Thank you.
We'll add it to his toolkit. Maybe it's something that we can add to our website too. Let me put it in this.
I do like upgrading tools sometimes. So unfortunately now I need to buy a bunch of like woodworking and household tools and not fun pinball tools, but you know.
Oh, Jamie said he wants the bigger solder sucker because he can find smaller ones readily available everywhere, but larger ones seem to be harder to come by, particularly in Australia.
Huh. That's peculiar. I need to get my little jeweler's loop. I'm not sure if I bridged a connection or not. Yeah, you just, again, it's like if you're careful and know what you're doing, you can get away using the bigger ones. I'll use the bigger one, like if someone's done like a bunch of nasty hack job soldering on like a flipper coil or something, having this big one is handy because it'll make short work of like big blobs of solder, but it's kind of overkill for doing like circuit board repair kind of stuff, you know?
Turn still using the braid. Prefers the braid.
Nothing wrong with the braid. This is what happens to solder suckers all the time, is they get stuck.
Doesn't happen to the braid.
Nope, this would not happen to the braid. Oh, look at, did I kill it on camera?
I like watching the braid change colors. Yeah, don't point it at the camera lens, please.
Yep, it died. Rest in peace. Thankfully.
So that's why you should get one from our website.
I have another one.
The exact same one? Jeez.
Yeah, pretty much.
Huh. Rest in peace, solder sucker.
I'm actually really sad, but I'm not going to cry on camera, so.
Well,
it's like,
maybe you're just going to have to get this one that Jacob sent.
Yeah, maybe I will. Maybe that's a good replacement.
That one looks even older than your other one.
This one, how the heck did this thing fail? Oh, I'm so sad. I hate it when my tools die. Oh, it's sheared off.
Always have a backup. Oh, it's gone. It's like really throw it across the room, dead forever?
No, but a little piece of plastic came out and I don't know. It looks pretty broke. Let's see. Can we do any exploratory surgery?
Oh, that's kind of interesting. IndiePin says, I think the braid acts like a heat sink to safeguard the board traces. It's just a thought. Any comments? I do not have any comments. It sounds great to me. But Kyle and anyone else in the chat?
I don't use it very much, so it's not something I think I can comment on with any authority. Between a solder sucker, a manual solder sucker, and a desoldering iron, I've never had I haven't really needed to use the braid much. I will try to repair this later. Let's continue the job, but I think it's dead.
I'm gonna sit here and try to fix it. Well, Mr. Volansky said, Kyle, you need to learn to never say, I've had this tool for forever.
I know.
Right as you said it, it broke.
I know. It's making. I'll have to drink one for the homie tonight.
Oh man, you should bury him in the backyard.
I know. Or yeah, give it a Viking funeral.
Not really, because it's plastic. Yeah, set it on fire. Yeah, and
all three of these traces are connected. I disconnected, or I unsoldered them just to make sure that there was a trace that went between all three. So I've always said the reason I think I've in my working history, most of the jobs that I've done, a majority of them have been with machines or the maintenance of machines or fixing things. And I'm pretty convinced I just get along better with machines than I get along with humans. And when my tools, which are, they're just so dear, when they break, it's like losing a good friend, you know?
So sad.
And I actually know that I definitely get along better with machines than I get along with other people. So, confirmed. Total weirdo. Let me get these guys undone here. Well, I'm glad that someone linked me to a good replacement for a heavy-duty big boy. I'll definitely be buying myself a Christmas present tonight. Wow. This thing is so mangled that there's not a lot of solder to melt. All right. So yeah, rinse, repeat, do this on all 5 of your displays, and you will have happy digits, happy segments. I got really sad when one of my soldering irons died. I was working in a customer's house, and I had it was in his garage, and he was watching me work on the game. And I set my soldering iron down somewhere cool so it would dry, or cool off, right? And I think I set it like it was halfway in between the garage and halfway outside of the garage. So it would just cool off against the concrete, right? And it started to rain, and then the customer shut his garage door, and it crushed my favorite soldering iron. And I was beyond sad and upset, but I couldn't say anything.
Oh my gosh, Kyle.
It was
My
very
heart just
depressing.
dropped for you.
Yeah, Kyle's problems.
I can just imagine.
I was very depressed. And now I have a new soldering iron, and I still don't like it as much as the old one, even though it's objectively better in every single way.
Alright, let's switch over. Open the door.
Send me stories of tool loss at kyle@marcopinball.com.
Yeah. Thanks for everyone in the chat talking about the pros and cons of using braids. It's awesome. It's good.
Of what?
We were just talking about the soldering braids.
It's super handy. I've used it before on, I used to use it like to suck up solder on coils and stuff like that when I would go to desolder them or something sometimes, but at the end of the day, I just preferred carrying a solder sucker. Let's power this sucker on. That's an awful LED. Get it.
Just pull. Yay.
Much better. I guess the other camera is the one that's really going to see it, but...
Oh yeah, let me switch to the wide. There we go.
We can put
Yeah,
it in...
it's not flickering anymore.
on.
Yay.
Let's put it in display test, and now you can see all the digits go.
Beautiful.
I'm not done, right? Again, we have to rinse, repeat 4 more times, but it is good to see that we do have all digits and segments reporting. So that means each individual display itself has good glass and good electronics on the boards, and also we have good electronics and connections from the computer. So we are good in the display department. Let's talk about pin scores really quick though. Say you just bought your cheap, crummy strikes and spares and you just kind of want to make it work and not throw tons of money into it, but you find that you do have one like really bummer display. With these Bally games, you do not need to replace all of your displays at one time. If you were to switch to a pin score, like the LED replacement, you can just use one. And they do look close enough to the original plasma displays that you wouldn't really notice 100% if you had just changed one over. You kind of can in my Meteor because the brightness is turned up really, really bright. But if you mess with the little brightness knob, you can turn it down to kind of match the intensity of your gas plasma displays. So,
Do you have any pin scores that we can do a little micro field trip on to look at?
Yeah.
Since we have time.
Field trip. I think
Field
the only game that I have a pin score in is my Meteor, because it was at a brewery and what glass is this? Oh, this is Twilight Zone. It was in a brewery and the display stopped working and I didn't feel like mucking with it at the brewery, so I brought along a pin score and we changed it. Does this game have a lock? Yes. Hold on. One sec. You have the camera over here?
Oh yeah, but I forgot this C920 has a hertz refresh.
Yeah, well, let's just look at the pin score
Issue,
itself. I
but-
mean, this is the pin score. You can kind of tell, I mean, see how bright that is
Yeah.
compared to the
Cough.
LED or the plasma displays? Does the pin score show up or does it have the same refresh problem?
The refresh is not as jarring, but yeah. And it's the camera, it's not the unit.
Yeah, I think it's just, it's part of the way that they multiplex the display data and the way it shows up on these old Bally and Stern games.
Oh,
Sorry, I forgot that this-
Jacob asked, he has an extra display that doesn't have a glass nipple on it. Does that mean it's possibly an LED?
No. I mean, unless it's like very plainly an LED display, it's probably not LED. The LED displays are 100% aftermarket. They're not They were never used in Bally or Stern pinball games.
Yeah, and you're going to show how to turn down the pin score display so you can adjust the brightness?
Yeah. So this is like a Frankenstein pin score. So excuse, a lot of my games have a lot of Frankenstein stuff because I'm lazy. So it's got actually a very old pin score like digit display as an exclamation point. We need to bring that back. But it's plugged into a more modern main board, which is the base. So if you have a brand new one, it'll be very similar. Pin score. This is actually another old base too. It still has the jumper to enable commas and stuff. But if you bought a brand new pin score from us today, it would still include this brightness pot. So as I turn it, the displays get much dimmer. Turn it the other way, they get very bright. So you can hopefully try to match the intensity of the display to match your plasmas, and you'd barely be able to tell the difference. So this is a game that I plan on doing I'm going to do a 7-digit conversion on. I'm using, is this it? No, this is an Alltech board. I did have, I forgot the fella's name, but he was selling his own Bally CPUs for a while. And it came with some bootleg ROMs that would allow you to do 7-digit display. So what you need to do is you need to run another digit strobe from your computer. It's kind of complicated. You run another digit strobe and run a wire to each of these display connectors to hot rod them to use 7-digit displays. It's pretty cool, but this is definitely a game that needs 7-digit scoring. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that'll be a fun episode if we can do that on a show. And then oh my gosh, Kyle, you're killing me. That was so painful.
I think those computers too. I forgot that.
Another thing to note, we're going to do a pin score episode coming up soon with our newer models of pin score, which actually all the units are completely black. So that's a really old model you have in there.
That one's green. So the new ones, they're all black, and also this one doesn't have the foam light shield around it. So again, this is a Frankenstein together project, not a. That's not what you'd be getting. That's very old. I've had that pin score for many years. And I can't get my key out of the lock, so I'll deal with that later. Anywho.
All right, we're going to come back to the wide. Let's do a few minutes of Q&A. We already have some questions loading up in the chat, and y'all are always helping each other out because you're awesome. Thank you for being such a great community. Let's include Kyle in on the fun because I'm sure he feels left out.
I feel so left out.
Feel free to add more questions, and let me try to find him. Where are you, Kyle? Where are you going to go?
I'm just getting my glass back on. I'm sorry. Oops. I need to get a new Meteor back glass. This one's pretty crummy. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that.
There he is. Oh, let me see. Let's go. Okay.
Oh, I'm so sad.
Oh, thank you for subscribing. Vidya Jam. All right, so we have some questions. Yeah.
Oh no, I think I figured out why it died.
You can help me solve the flipper issue on this hard body? From Captain Retro. We're waiting to see what the issue is.
I'll do anything to help hard body survive.
I know, right? Hard body. So the relay turns on in test mode, but the flippers won't fire. I can't get them to fire by grounding coil or tab of transistor. They are getting ohms.
Flippers are not controlled by transistors in hard body. The relay is there to just enable the flippers during gameplay. So what you need to do is you just need to check for voltage. You need to find your voltage wire to the flipper and just make sure you have voltage there. Flippers are a super, super, super simple circuit. There is always voltage at the flipper. I don't remember the wire colors on hard body, but the voltage comes in on the side of the flipper that has the banded diode, right? So you've got 2 diodes on your flipper and there's a band. The voltage is going to come in on the side that is with both banded diodes. Measure for 43 volts there.
They have voltage.
There's no voltage.
There is voltage.
There is voltage. Okay, so either your flipper enable relay is goofy, or your flipper buttons are not grounding the flipper. There's not much else. It's a very, very simple circuit. Voltage is applied. A bunch of stuff happens up to a relay on the board. When the game is fired up, right, the relay changes states, which allows the line down to the flipper buttons to complete. So voltage, flipper, all the returns go back up to that relay. Once the relay's closed, that goes down to the flipper button. Once you close that flipper switch, you provide a path to ground and everything goes. So there's not much to them. The relays can be problematic.
Colin Baxter said, I would trace back the wires and make sure that everything is soldered on. I had a similar issue and a wire fell off the relay. So maybe something simple like that.
I mean, it wouldn't hurt to open the game up and make sure that the flipper enable relay hasn't been mucked with before and someone hasn't, screwed with it or anything, and it's got bad connections. You find that the AC select relay on later Williams games do have problems on certain titles, notably the later titles where they started using the AC select relay a lot, like roller games or Pool Sharks or Radical. You do end up having those relays have failures, and the fact that the actual contacts inside the relay do start to get dirty. But generally, it's not the relay, but it depends, right? Maybe that hard body was some person's favorite game ever, and they played it way more than anyone should ever play hard body, and that game saw a lot of use, and, it could be.
Yeah, he said the board just came back from El Dorado. They say it's 100%. And he also said, buttons work. I flipped the connector around on J7, and when pushing buttons, one fired the drop targets up, the top yellow, and the other one fired the knocker. So the buttons were...
Open up your manual and look at the...
Swapped out the relay.
Yeah, don't start doing component swapping and stuff, because it's probably going to be a lot simpler, or someone else caused the problem. Generally, that is what the issues will be. It's really hard to diagnose this stuff without looking at it, because you've been looking at it for a while, and you might not, the problem might not be jumping out to you, but a fresh set of eyes, it could be pretty apparent. What I would recommend is yanking out your manual and the schematic, and it's the same way as in this kind of game, right? You're going to have a color code. Make sure everything's in its right spot. Make sure nothing's broken. I have a hard body right there. I really want to go move everything and go look at it with you, but just make sure everything's in its right place. Make sure no one yanked anything out, or you've got a crummy connection somewhere. I don't remember on 6803 what connector the flippers come out of, but I mean, I would start there. Start at the wiring and stuff like that. Make sure that the flippers are wired up correctly. Now I feel like I need to remember. I'm pretty sure 6803, no, yeah, they're not transistor fired. There's just like these things. The flex saves are definitely transistor powered, but wow, I'm starting to lose my voice.
You rebuilt the entire game. It was in pieces. Well, hey, Captain, when shows come back and we go to Southern Fried Gaming Expo, you should bring your hard body. I'll bring my hard body. Kyle will bring his hard body. We'll get Don from the Airbnb, Hopkins with his hard body. We'll have... Well, let's get as many hard bodies in a row. And
I think that sounds fun. One year at the Golden State Pinball Festival, we had 7, well, I guess it was Pinagogo at the time, but there were 7 spirits, Gottlieb spirits
That's
in
such
one
a
place.
beautiful shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
good old Steve Charland.
Yeah. Yep.
That was pretty cool. But I think hard body would blow that out of the water. Hard body's way cooler.
I think it would be really funny to have. Or to have 7 hot doggins. That would be great too.
Yeah.
Okay, more questions. We have about 10 more minutes before we go unlive. You like that? So Indie Pins. Hey, Indie Pins. My Diamond Lady drop
Okay.
targets do not always have the intended reaction. I've adjusted the contacts many times, but I can't get it to work reliably. Is there a possibility there's a strobe that reads the contacts and the strobe might have a problem?
Yes, but don't start thinking. I run into this problem a lot personally too, but it's very easy to jump to things that are more abstract or you might not understand 100% when you're trying to troubleshoot things. A lot of times the problem is much simpler than a random electronic failure. What is not working with the drop targets on Diamond Lady? I can't remember. I mean, what, they're just not reading? I think on the Gottlieb games of that era, there's one switch, the drop target drops, and you get points. And then when they're all down, it should complete a series switch, which will then fire to raise the drop targets back up. I mean, here's the thing, right? Short them out, right? Get a screwdriver and touch both leads of the switch and see if they respond in game or in switch test. I don't remember how to get a System 80B game into switch test. I think that's System 80B. But I mean, that's what you're looking for, right? The computer, if there is a switch strobe or something that is missing and you do have a problem with the matrix, you'll be able to find it very easy by putting it into switch test. If you short both of the leaves of the switch together and it doesn't report, you've either got a problem with the connector that connects to the computer or the computer can't see it. So maybe that's something else to look at. Make sure that your edge connectors and stuff like that are in good shape. Make sure that the actual pin inside the housing isn't like flattened out super hard and it's not making pressure and connection up against the board. There's a few things it could be, but I'd start with the simple things first. Don't just jump straight to the abstract.
Independent says 2 targets down should activate a center pop-up between the flippers.
It should. Now, but do each of those targets like actually respond, right? Like, do you get points? Can the computer see them going down? You know, at that point, it's all software. And generally, software doesn't have problems, generally. So.
Jacob, 6803 as confusing as ABC. That was a hard body reference. But yeah.
It is not.
It's easy as.
It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. You can't let Gene chewing or scraping gum off the bottom of a game. What does it say? It says something really dumb. I think the hard body manual actually says it. Or maybe it's only in the 8-Ball Deluxe manual or late, whatever. They were like trying to make it sound so easy, like Bob is there trying to reset the audits on his game and people keep distracting him, and it's stupid.
Daniel asked a little while earlier, Kyle, have you tried a burn filament on Futaba displays to make it bright again?
Wait, the what?
Futaba displays?
I think that's the Gottlieb stuff. I mean, you're talking about like arcing the filaments and to make them brighter? Yeah. You can hold like a... There's write-ups on this online, but I think it's like you can short like a 9-volt battery to like pins 1 and pins 12 or something on those old Gottlieb displays to burn all the crap off the filaments to make them a lot brighter again. But you're also shorting the whatchamacallit.
Yeah,
you're shortening the life of the game, the display a little bit. But yeah. I think that's what you're talking about.
The 6803 keypad is hilarious.
The 6803 keypad is really awesome. If you can actually figure out how to use it, they're very, very handy, but it's kind of dumb.
It took me a minute, but I can use it now. Okay, roller pinball. I have a spinner switch on my Sega Twister that I've attempted to replace twice, but it keeps blowing the diode when I do a switch test. # magic smoke. Pretty sure I have it soldered correctly in the correct orientation. Any ideas?
Yes. Look at your wiring. Look at your manual. Look at the switch matrix and I mean, even hooking up a diode on a micro switch would not cause the diode to die. It just would work weird. You'd have a short in the switch column. I guess Baywatch is similar enough. I don't know if Baywatch has a manual in it, but the matrix will show you the orientation of the diode and how it needs to hook up, right? On a micro switch, you have like a dummy lug, right? A lug that really doesn't do anything, and then if you touch your meter to the leads of the other two spots on the switch and you actuate it, you should have resistance, continuity, right? So the diode is supposed to go from the dummy lug to another lug. Let me open up Baywatch and see if it has a manual. That would be pretty similar to Twister, I think. I know it's not the same system, but it might be, the manual might look the same. If you're actually blowing up and destroying diodes, there might be a problem somewhere else, and I don't
think I could diagnose that.
There is no manual in here.
Oh my gosh, Midge, you're Rudolph. You have 3 eyeballs now, and
I would look in your manual though, man, and just verify they're going the correct way. I think that in that era of game, again, you're using a green in a striped wire and a white in a striped wire, kind of like Williams did, and oh gosh, I used to know this off the top of my head.
Roller Pinball said, when I hold the switch down, it will eventually cause the diode to pop in half.
Whoa. That's the only problem you have with the game? I think there might be some underlying issues there, man. The switch matrix, the switch strobes, I think on White Star, I think that game's White Star. I think it runs on 12 volts, just like the Williams ones did. And if you're blowing diodes up, you've got issues somewhere else, man. Do you have any other switches that aren't working? You might have... No, because if you had solenoid voltage going to the switch matrix, you'd blow the driver. I need to look at a schematic, but I have a feeling that's not the only problem with your pinball machine. There might be something else going on.
Someone, Reg Ran says, sounds like a driver transistor went out. Jackrabbit said, sounds like the diode is wired up wrong. And then Roller Pinball says, also compared it to the left spinner and it's configured the same. Yes, White Star, and that's the only issue I've found so far.
Yeah, that's weird though. Look at all the wiring around there and make sure, again, hooking up a diode backwards is not going to cause it to explode. There is something weird going on with that game. That's a first. The switch matrix usually runs on 12 volts. And which is very, very much underrated for any diode. Yeah, that's a crazy one. Holy moly. Where, man, I wish that I could be anywhere in the US right now because I want to figure out what's going on with your game. That is so crazy.
And then the last 2 questions, these are more simple questions that were asked earlier, and I didn't ask them yet. Kyle, what's your favorite pinball shirt? Say the Marco Wizard shirt.
I'm going to give multiple... Okay, my favorite Marco pinball shirt is either the one I'm wearing right now, which is the Centigrade 37T, which was screen printed by...
Free Gold Watch.
Matt Henry at Free Gold Watch. Or the Wizard shirt that Dirty Donnie did the artwork for. I really love that one. Other favorite pinball shirts, I really like my Wedgehead shirt. Wedgehead is a really cool bar in Portland. I really like my friend Andy's shirts that he screen prints in Germany.
Flip.
He goes by Loose Flip. He's got some cool stuff.
So cool.
I also like my CCPL shirt. I became an honorary member of the Capitol Corridor Pinball League in Sacramento, California. And it's really funny because it's a play on, Soviet Russia. So that one's funny. It makes people look at me weird.
I like your red Pinball Medic shirt.
I like the Pinball Medic shirt. That one's fun. It reminds me of better times when I'd be at shows fixing games. The good old days.
Oh, thank you, Pinball122.
That was a good question. Thank you.
For joining us. And then lastly, what's your favorite cheap beer? Asked by Bad Out of Hell.
Oh, man. Well, I hope
By
Colin
Nico.
Baxter isn't here because he's just going to make fun of me. Favorite cheap beers? I really like... It's hard for me to drink PBR because I've drank way too much PBR now. But I really like Rainier. When in the Pacific Northwest, I will consume many Rainiers. I really like Miller High Life, champagne of beers.
You can't. Can you just choose one answer for these questions? Like,
No,
what
man.
is this
I'm
listing
a-
off your top 10?
I got a lot of good stuff. Yingling,
Merry
too. Now that I live
Christmas,
on the East
Pinball
Coast, I really like
122.
Yingling.
Eternal Grammy, yes, in Soviet Union t-shirts wear you. Silver-haired and everyone, this is not our last stream of the year. I don't know why I keep wanting to say that. No, we will not be streaming on Christmas Eve.
Are you quitting?
We are taking the day off. We feel very guilty about it. But we will be streaming on December 31st. And quite possibly this could be our big Led Zeppelin unboxing stream where we bring in the Stern guys and do a deep dive in the new game. And we have lots of big prize giveaways. So keep an eye out for that. And then to also remind you guys, we have a little sale going on that starts tomorrow. It's 10% off of a few select tools on our highlights page. That's on the front page. So use your free shipping orders for 99 code. That's active until 3 p.m. tomorrow Eastern time. So you can do a little code stacking.
I think we talked about it last time, too, but... I put on the front page like a couple good, like just basic kits, right? Like big rubber ring kit, big fastener kit. Those
Can't
things
go
are
wrong
pretty
with
handy.
those. Yep.
If you need, it's a good way to stock up on stuff. And then, you know, as you work on your games, you realize what you are missing and what you need to stock up on again. Which screws you go through the fastest, or why the heck do I use so many 2-inch rubber rings? What the heck uses 2-inch rubber rings? I don't know, but I run out of them real quick. They're pretty powerful, you know, things to bolster your toolbox with. Because let's face it, again, it's like we've done it a few times, but you don't need to buy a rubber kit for every single one of your games if you have all the rings, right? So if you stock up on a bunch of rings, that's a good way to, you know, good stocking stuffers. Let's put it that way. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. So Indie Pins, we are going to put up tomorrow morning 8 select tool highlights. They'll be 10% off on our front page. So keep an eye out for that. They're different than our Black Friday ones for the most part. The wire crimping tool we did earlier on the product spotlight will be on there. Wire bending tool.
Yeah,
Crimping tool.
that thing's cool. That's really handy, especially if you're trying to bring a game back from the dead. Might be missing a few pieces here or there, or you have a unobtainium ramp entrance flap or a gate that you need to recreate. A good tool.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We will see you in a couple weeks. Oh my gosh, just saying that makes me so sad.
I know, this is like the high spot of my week.
Yes, that's a tool to repair rails. And for those on Twitch, let's go hang out on someone else's page. Right now, What the Flip is flipping Multimorphics the heist.
Oh,
or we
cool.
can go over to watch Mystery Pinball Theater set up to start playing Cyclone.
Cyclone? Oh, I sold that Cyclone to Matt at Free Gold Watch. He has a really nice Cyclone.
What do we want to go see? Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays.
Yeah,
We hope
Merry
everyone has a
Christmas,
great holiday
Kwanzaa,
season.
Hanukkah, whatever you might celebrate.
Oh, the Phil's Pinball. Okay.
What is it? What
Anyone
did the...
have any?
Wait, hey Steve,
have
what did the Romans? It was Saturnalia, right? Happy Saturnalia to all of my fellow people that care about ancient history.
Oh no, Indie Pins,
Yes.
good luck on your snowblower repair.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I'd like to watch. I can't watch it, but I'd really like to see the heist. I really like the
It's pretty
multimorphic
cool.
games.
Yeah, I haven't seen it streamed, so let's all give some love to What the Flip today.
I figured out what went wrong with my my solder sucker here. Well, Emoto types it in.
Mystery Pinball 3000.
This piece that holds this spring in died right here, and the actual plunger got stuck in the tip, and then when I tried to cock it, it exploded. But I'm going to try to fix it because I'm cheap.
Crafty, resourceful.
That's right. I don't want to create unnecessary plastic waste.
Okay, y'all, we're gonna go look at the heist, and then if you're tired of looking at the heist, then definitely switch over to Mystery Pinball Theater 3000 and watch Cyclone. He has a great stream too. 2 great streams. It's hard to choose, but let's do it. And until next time, everybody.
Happy Saturnalia. You freaking nerd.
Oh.
Go back to